Hey everyone, my name is Warda and I'm currently a third year medical student at UCL. And today I'm going to be talking you through how I got a level 9 in all of my science GCSEs, because it's a question lots of people ask me, and lots of people ask me about what did you do, what are the tricks, and what are the tips that you did. And really, it's not really a very complicated process that I did. It's not a very complicated method, and I've shared it with lots of people, and it seems to have worked for them as well. So hopefully this video will be really helpful for you too. So we're going to go through 4 very simple steps. And these are steps that you can start applying even if you're in year 9 or year 10, but this video is mainly aimed at year 11s for their last minute revision, so there will be a separate video for year 9s and 10s. But feel free to start applying some of these anyway. So step number 1 is use the specification as a checklist. So I'm going to show you actually how to use the specification as a checklist, because lots of people get a bit confused, how am I meant to use the specification as a checklist? So let's have a look over here, and you can see that this is a chemistry AQA GCSE specification. You can find this very easily on the AQA website, as you can see, and it's right over here. So after you've opened the specification, what you want to do is scroll down. Let me zoom in a little bit as well. You want to scroll down and you want to click on the subject content section, and you really want to go through all the subject content. You don't want to go through it if you're in year 11 particularly in spend hours and hours going over every single sentence, but you do want to use it as a checklist because you've gone through the content before. So now all that you want to really do is actually use it as a checklist. So you're going to go over here. So for example, if I'm revising atoms, elements and compounds before my exam, I'm going to go, okay, do I know that atom is the smallest part of an element? Yes, I do. Okay. Do I know that chemical reactions can be represented by word equations and symbols and formulae? And then do I know that there's 100? Okay, that's fine. 100 different elements. I know that stuff. So I know this stuff. So you're going to go through every sentence and you're going to go tick, tick. Okay, I know it. Then let's go on to the next topic. Let's say we're going to do size, relative atomic mass. I do recommend you go in chronological order, but I'm just showing you a little demo on a different topic as an example. So electronic structure. Do I know that the electronic structure of sodium is 281? No, why is it 281? Okay, I don't know this. So I'm going to put a little dot here, and I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to write in a separate notebook or in a separate journal. You're going to write down electronic structure. And apologies for my whiteboard mouse handwriting, it's terrible, but hopefully you get the idea that electronic structure, and then periodic table. Let's say I don't know why the elements are arranged in order of proton number. So I'm going to write down proton number. You get the idea. So I'm going to write down 1 and 2. And then after I've gone through this topic in the specification, I'm going to go to my revision guide. I'm going to go to my notes, and I'm going to go over those things only. I'm not going to go over things that I know, especially if you're in year 11 and your exams are coming up in a couple of days. You don't want to spend hours and hours and hours logging and spending so much effort and so much hard work over things that you already know. You want to invest your time and your energy into things that you don't know. So figure out what you don't know using the specification, and then only revise those things. So you're making the most out of your time and your effort and your brain, because you don't want to overwork your brain too much, especially during your exams. Now, another thing of why the specification is super important, especially for those who want to get the higher grades and get the level 9s, is because anything from the specification can come up. And the specification is literally what the examiners use to make the exams and what the examiners use to make the mark schemes, because that's what your teachers have been teaching you. They've been teaching you from things in the specification, and this is the criteria of everything. Absolutely anything that can come up in the exam will be from the specification. Even if it's application based, it's relating to a specific part of the specification. So the better you know the specification, and the better you know that you've ticked off everything in the specification, there's nothing to worry about in the exam, because you know everything that you can be tested on. So that's why the specification is super important. And now that's the end, really. So that's using the specification as a checklist. And for sciences particularly, please make sure that you know the keywords and the really important keywords for every topic, because you get marks for giving them scientific words and scientific keywords, and they're all in there. They're all in the specification. So make sure you highlight those in your answer, and you highlight those in your head. So when a question comes up on cell structure, for example, you know the keywords that you need to include in your answer. Okay, now we're going to move on to step number 2. So step number 2 is doing practice papers. Now, I cannot emphasize this enough, especially as you have only a few days coming up. Do as many practice papers as you possibly can. If you have done all the practice papers on the AQA website or your board's website, that's great. That's absolutely fantastic. But now what's really important is actually reviewing those practice papers, and the degree to how well you review practice papers makes the difference between a level 7 and a level 9. How much you learn from your mistakes is so important and can really impact the quality of your work. Because it doesn't matter if you got a level 9 for your mocks. If you haven't learned anything, if you haven't retained any learning from your mocks, then it's not going to be great, because you haven't reviewed them and you haven't actually reviewed your mistakes. You haven't reviewed anything in terms of the content or what you've learned from that experience. You haven't remembered what you did well. So even if you got 100% in a test, look at that test. Why did that go well? What went well? What structure did you use? What keywords did you use? Why was that really good? If it didn't go so well, that's equally beneficial. So why didn't it go well? What is in the mark scheme compared to what you wrote? Why did you miss out on those marks? And I have seen, because I've been teaching lots of students over the past few years, I have seen that for GCSE, A-levels, it's all upon the student on how actually well they've reviewed their paper and how well they've looked at the mark scheme and how willing they've been to change their mistakes. You can, even if you have one day left and you just go over 3 questions, and people always ask me, oh, is it worth, just going over a 1-mark question that I got wrong? And the answer is yes, because that 1 mark could be the difference between a grade 8 and a grade 9, or a grade 7 and a grade 8. So it's really important. So please do as many practice papers as you can and review them. Look at what your teacher said, look at what the mark scheme says, and cross-reference. Okay, now we're going to move on to step number 3. So step number 3 is chilling, as well as doing everything else, and as well as studying, and as well as doing exams. This is particularly important for year 11, that you chill. You do things that make you feel relaxed, that make you feel happy outside of exams and studying. And this is something that I remember I did quite a lot, surprisingly, because I always stress a lot about exams. But I think it really helped during my GCSEs to just watch a TV show that I really liked after exams, or to just spend time with my family. And I didn't give up on commitments that I had, like learning languages or doing extracurricular clubs. Don't give up on everything. Yes, you might want to cut down on some things so you're not tired, but don't give up on everything. If you enjoy painting, do painting. Do a painting every day. If you enjoy listening to music, listen to music. If you enjoy dancing, do dancing. Do whatever makes you happy and relaxed, because that's super important, that your brain gets the time to relax so it can actually function at its optimum level in the exam. Because if you're overworked and you're burnt out, then it's going to impact your grades, and we really don't want that, because you've worked so hard and you want to be able to demonstrate your full potential in the exam. Okay, and the last step number 4, is, I think, a super important step, because 15% of your exam is made up and will be directly linked to this step. Step number 4 is required practicals. Revise required practicals. 15% of every exam in science is made up of required practical related questions and directly related to the required practicals. Now, I think this is really easy to revise as well, like the night before or 2 days before, because this 15% is guaranteed to come up on your paper. And it's only about 4 required practicals that you have to revise per paper, because in paper 2 there'll be about 4, in paper 1 there'll be about 4, so it's really only 4 experiments that you have to revise, and it's 15% of your paper. So in terms of required practicals, what do I revise? You revise the method, you revise the control variables, you revise safety precautions, and you try and revise what sort of concepts, what topics is this required practical linked to? Is it linked to photosynthesis? Is it also linked to respiration somehow? Because more and more now, GCSE questions are becoming slightly more application questions, especially more 6-mark questions. They're more related to application. So the deeper you understand your required practical and what topic it links to, the better you will be able to answer those questions. So I hope this was really helpful. And one final tip, and this is not a revision tip, but this is an exam tip, is to write your answers in bullet points. And this is so important. I was told this by my dad so many times because he's a physics teacher, but I never ever did it until my actual GCSE exams. And I cannot tell you how helpful this is, because have you had this problem before where you write everything, you revise everything in science and you just write everything in your answer? And that's so easy to do, but then that misses the focus of the question. You don't answer the question properly. So please write in bullet points. Even 6-mark questions, you can write in bullet points. And don't be afraid to do that. And have a look at the mark scheme as well, because you'll see in the mark scheme that answers are usually written in very short words or very short bullet points. And that will really help you to answer very specifically, like a scientific answer, because science answers are not English answers. They're very specific. And the more specific you are, the more keywords you use, the more marks you get. So I wish you all the very best, and I hope this was very helpful. Bye, everyone.